Pick the Nintendo Shack and pray. Frederick from Fire Emblem Awakening says, yo.
Greetings, Koopalings. Welcome to this week's episode of the Nintendo Shack podcast, the Game Awards recap. I am joined here by my co-host, Garrett. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. It's been a week, as is always is.
We say that every week, but it continues to be weeks.
Especially close to the holidays. I feel like work just exponentially increases as we get close to Christmas and the New Year's. But I'm doing okay. I am sleeping sometimes. How about you?
Sleep is good. Is the end finally in sight for you?
Yeah. So I talked to my advisor about that. I'm on a very tight schedule. My job officially starts February 1st, so they got to get me out and graduating before then. So I got to email out to my committee, make sure that I got my oral defense date set up and everything next month. I am writing my thesis like there's no tomorrow. I am hoping to finish before Christmas, but if not, that's okay. I got a few days left after that, but yeah, other than that, I'm doing okay. Just
your hard work is paying off. It is
going
to be behind you soon, soon enough.
Yes,
just keep looking at that end goal.
Exactly.
We have Game Awards news to recap today. We have some other Nintendo news to go over. For me, lately, it has been busy as well. We had parent-teacher conferences today, so I got home exhausted. I drank a bunch of coffee with a double shot of espresso. I am thankfully now a little bouncy and twitchy because of it, but this is going to be a good show. This is going to be a very good show. And before we dive into what we've been up to and the news from this week, why don't you thank our live on air patrons?
Yeah, thank you. Evan Callow, Chris M, Devin Tyus, Horse Girl 69, Joe Wilson, Josh Barbona, Kyle Heyman, Nick Creature, Paul Calico, RJ Kern, Stephen Keller, Zach Adams, Trucker Sloth, Michael Taylor, our newest live on air producers, Brawlin, and Jason Carter. Thank you guys.
Thank you
very much for the support.
We appreciate your support, as always. What have you been up to game-wise, Garrett? I know you're working hard. Have you been playing games?
Very little. Here and there. I am just trying to get to comfort food right now because Shin Megami Tensei 5, as much as I'm enjoying that game, it's supposed to be a struggle. You're supposed to work for the end for that game, and it's a grind. I'm at a boss where I'm just like, I need to at least probably train around the area a couple hours, and I don't have a couple hours right now.
A couple hours for one boss?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm saying it
in general.
Maybe that. Yeah, I like to grind around and get comfortable until I get to a boss. I died a couple of times with that boss, but it wasn't bad. It was just like, okay, I'm just not strong enough with my monsters yet or whatever. So I kind of am taking a pause with Shin Megami Tensei 5. I think I'll have more time during the break.
Yeah.
But I am going back to Lego games. I actually got this game on sale. And it was I really enjoy this franchise, and that's Harry Potter.
I heard the Lego games are really good.
Mm-hmm. The Lego games are fantastic. I've played Lego Star Wars way back in the day. And of course, there's been many other Lego games. I loved what I played with Lego Star Wars, and I'm like, you know what? I love the Harry Potter franchise. I think I'll get really into this. And man, oh man, it is hitting the right spot. I love the Lego games. I love how they go through the stories in the books or the movies or whatever. But it's just a very funny comedic way with the Legos. And it's just a huge collectathon.
A little bit of a change of pace from Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah, I just go around and move bricks around with my magic wand, and oh, cool! There's little puzzles here and there. It's a huge collectathon that I really enjoy. A lot of secret like mazes and puzzles in within a level too. There, so you have to go back and repeat these levels to get 100%. I am having a blast just playing the first like kind of movie, The Sorcerer's Stone.
Oh, okay.
I'm hearing the music. I'm hearing like, Harry going through the house, hat ceremony and all that. It's all very funny. So
I think I would like
it's
that
good.
one because I've never played any of the Lego games, but I do like Harry
Hmm.
Potter, and it sounds like they're pretty enjoyable. So that's
Hmm.
you said you
Yeah,
got it on sale.
I did get on it on sale. They go on sale quite a bit on Switch. I think so altogether all the I think it's part 1 and part 2. So it's Harry
Okay.
Potter's 1 through 4 and then 5 through 8 for $10. It
Oh, that's
was
really good.
yeah, I was like, "Dang, I'll definitely go for that." And I had enough coins in my little like rewards bonus. I got this as a free game.
How long
Um
are each of the books?
So, I'm not sure yet because I'm just
Okay.
only a part of the way through the Sorcerer's Stone. From what I imagine from Star Wars, it was like not that bad. I feel like I played Lego Star Wars 1, which is episodes 1 through 3, the
Mhm.
prequels or whatever, and each of them took about maybe 4 or 5 hours.
That's pretty good, honestly. Those
It's
are like
easy. Yeah.
games in one.
Right, right. And it's a lot of I like going around and collecting things, so it takes a lot longer time for me to like just go from one level to the next. I'm sure you can blow through these levels and speed run. You could probably go
Yeah,
through the Sorcerer's Stone for like 30 minutes or something
pretty
like that.
quickly if you wanted to. Yeah, but
Yeah.
if you were taking the time to collect everything, it would, yeah, take
Yeah.
longer. Awesome. Glad you're
E-
enjoying that.
So, I've been just playing that whenever I have time, and it's easy to get in there and just play like 15 minutes, and hearing the music and seeing the characters again reminds me of Harry Potter, and I really enjoy that
And they're
franchise.
little Legos.
Yeah,
They're so cute.
yeah, yeah. They're very, very cute as
I
well.
feel like that's probably a much better stress relieving game than Shin Megami Tensei for your
Yeah.
thesis and everything that's going on.
As much as I'm enjoying that game, it's like, all right, I am
Yeah,
doing what I can with this game. Let me take a pause and give me some comfort food with Lego games.
for
So it's
sure.
hitting the spot for me, for sure.
Good,
So
good.
what about you?
I haven't been doing as much gaming this week. I have been jumping
Yeah.
around just kind of with um familiar stuff as well. Like I am still on my Animal Crossing grind. I've been playing some Mario Party here and
Mm-hmm.
there. I
Cool.
feel like I do this between big games that I play. So like I was really grinding out Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and I finished that. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I take a little bit of time between games like that before I jump into something else. So right now I'm kind of on the down lull, before
Yeah.
it picks back up and I play something else. I
Mm-hmm.
probably will play, like, I keep saying that I wanted to play Chrono Cross again because I started playing that earlier this year. So I'm thinking
Right.
about jumping back into that, but I haven't picked it back up again. So we will see
Are
what I
you
end up
playing on
picking
the
back up.
Retro Pocket?
Yes. Yeah. That's what I
Okay.
started it on. Yeah.
Is it like in emulation wise, is it on the PS1 emulator
Hmm.
that's on there? Okay.
Yep.
Is it multiple discs or multiple
So,
ROMs?
yes, it is. It's 2 discs,
Yeah,
and I haven't gotten to the disc change yet, so I don't know how that's gonna work, but
me
apparently it's not
neither.
a big deal. I was, like, Googling it
Interesting.
before I started, like, what the
Yeah.
possibilities for that are, doing it with emulation, like, is it even possible? And
Mhm.
apparently it is possible and not that hard to just, like, load something and it switches over. Like, it reads from your original, like,
Okay.
ROM
I
of
see.
the first disc or something. I don't
Mhm.
know. I don't know on the technical level of how it works, but
Yeah.
I will be disappointed if it doesn't work because then I
Well,
played half the game and, like, can't play the second half, but
and then you
you
can't move
know,
forward with it. It's
you
so
know.
weird. When I was looking through PS1 ROMs, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, they were broken into, like, 7 discs
I
in
didn't
one
even
game."
realize that because I didn't have a PS1, so I didn't realize
Right.
that was a thing until I downloaded Chrono Cross, and I'm like, 2 discs. Like, what?
Yeah.
So
It was kind of crazy
yeah,
back then, and especially those RPGs. They love to split them into like at least
the
3 or 4
long
discs
games.
for the
Yeah,
Final
yeah.
Fantasy games. We'll
Yeah,
see how
so
that goes.
I haven't jumped back into that yet. There's a couple games that I am thinking about buying and playing because I totally need to add new games to my backlog. But we'll see. We'll see next
Of
week,
course.
or when what I end up picking up and playing. Um, but in other news, I got roasted
Yeah.
by Jeff Keighley on Twitter today. That has
I
been
couldn't
kind
believe
of
it.
the highlight of my day. As a joke, I just want to put it on record that this was as a joke.
Of
I thought it
course.
would be funny after the Game Awards to tweet, when I die, I hope that Jeff Keighley lowers me into my grave so he can let me down one more time. Because to be
Yeah.
honest, I was expecting a little bit more from his initial statement about the abuse
Okay.
that's been going on in the industry, and I'm personally hurt that there was no Chrono Cross at the Game Awards and that there
Yeah.
was no big Nintendo news, which we will get to in our recap. I know that's not Jeff's fault, and it wasn't ever like a serious thing, and you
Of
have to
course it's
blame
not.
somebody, so I'm gonna blame the big guy here, the one who's in charge of it all. Um, well, he saw it
I couldn't believe it.
and replied, "Okay, I'll be there."
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I woke up to that, and it has been funny reading all of the replies and just like everybody laughing at how roasted I got. And I think he's a really good sport about it, and I have a lot of respect
Yeah.
for him. I think he does a really, really good job with the Game Awards, and I think it's become such a big show and so awesome to watch every year. And I think he does a lot of really
Mhm.
good things with this, and there's
Oh,
nobody
of
better
course.
to be in charge of the Game Awards. So I don't want anyone, I'm putting this on record. I don't want anyone out there to think I have anything against Jeff Keighley.
I don't think
um,
anyone's thinking that. I think my first reaction is like, "Oh my goodness, Jeff Keighley noticed
well,
Rebecca
I
on Twitter." I was
For
like,
me, I
"Dang."
maybe this is just me. I feel like as soon as I realized that like he read it, I felt a
Yeah.
little bit bad because I know what that's like to pour your heart into like a project and have like I know he gets a lot of hateful comments all the time. So like this probably didn't bother him at all, but I
Mhm.
don't know. I felt bad because he does do a really good job with it. And like, he didn't personally let me down. Like, it was just funny. But I know he actually gets a
Mhm.
lot of hate. And like, that's what you get when you're that big. And I don't know. I
I'm
did feel
sure.
bad, but he was a good sport about it.
Yeah, yeah, and he only put that one reply out, and that's pretty much it, right, in that conversation?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, cool, sounds good. Yeah, it
But it
seems like he
is
was
it
just
is my most liked tweet right now. I screen capped the interaction
of
and took
course.
the L, and it's my most liked tweet. It's like at 50,000 likes. So this is my
That's
15 minutes
insane.
of Twitter fame right now. And I will brag about that for the rest of my life.
It's like, "Look, Jeff Keighley burned me. You
He
can't say
burned me.
that
It's
about
my
me."
claim to fame. Exactly. So
Oh, it's good stuff.
I will mention that forever and ever that I got roasted by
Mhm.
Jeff Keighley. So
I thought it was one of the best interactions I've
it was
seen
really funny.
between him and just, like, another person in general.
Yeah.
I'm sure he just came up and was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I'll just reply to this one person. Okay, yeah, you'll have enough around, like, attention grabbing or
Yeah.
whatever," and, of course, a lot of our friends and a lot of your, Nintendo friends, online on Twitter had s it was just fun, I think. It was just a
Yeah.
lot of just laughter all
Well, I
around.
I do give him a lot of credit for responding to something that wasn't, like, a positive type of tweet,
Mhm.
to say the
Right,
least. Um,
right. And just made light of it,
but
really.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. It was a
I
good reply.
When I read your tweet, I was just like, "Oh, yeah, of course, she's just joking." Of course, there's a lot of people on the internet. It's like,
There's a
"Oh my
lot of people
gosh."
who were agreeing. They're like, "But you're right." I'm like, "That's not what that's not the point."
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was more, troll like, you make
Yeah.
a joke out of it, and Jeff kinda recognized
I
that
hope
too, and
so.
I'm sure he didn't take it personally. It's just so cool to see a person like Jeff Keighley notice you like that on Twitter and replying to you.
He does reply to people like,
Yeah.
average people like us. I give him
Yeah.
a lot of credit because he on multiple occasions over the past 24 hours, like right after the show ended, he's like, what would you guys want to see that's different? How would you guys improve the show? He was on Twitter
Mhm.
Spaces today, just letting
Wow.
random people have the microphone and say, tell me what you liked about the show. What would you like us to see next year? If you could have changed one thing, what would you change? And I think that's not for show or marketing. I think he genuinely wants to hear what people are saying. He did a Reddit AMA where he was asking, what do you want me to do during the show this year? So like I said, I think he's a good guy, and I wouldn't want anybody else to be in charge of the Game Awards.
I totally agree. He's very dedicated to the art. And you can tell from all the like media and public, the podcasts I listen to in general, the general consensus is he pours his heart into that
He
work.
really
No matter
does.
what you criticize about the Game Awards or the Summer Games Fest, whatever, that guy is doing good work.
And you
with
can
games
tell
too.
how like genuinely passionate he is about the games that he's talking about. Like I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, he's going to hype up anything. He wants the viewership." But I actually think he's really hyping up all of these things because he genuinely likes them and is excited about them. And I think that's a little bit rare these days. So I respect it.
Definitely. Good stuff.
But yeah, that's what I've been up to. Just seeing those,
Pretty
my
eventful.
phone buzzing like off the hook all day today.
I bet.
Needed to mute everything and it still comes through. So yeah, we'll see when that slows down. But yeah, we'll see what I end up playing, over this weekend and next week and stuff.
Just whatever you feel like, don't feel like I feel like sometimes it's like, oh, I'm forced to like play a game. It's like, no, it's like more like go and play a game if you feel like you're gonna have fun.
That's honestly what it is, because there were a couple
Yeah.
instances this week where I tried to boot up like either a game that I've been putting off or, even a new game. And I was like, I just can't do this right now. I have a lot going on at work and stuff. And like, I just need my, like you said, the comfort food games, the Animal Crossing, the Mario Party with friends, things like that. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, no Elaine this week, for anyone wondering. She wasn't feeling too well. We're gonna give her some time to recover, and hopefully we'll see her back next week.
Yeah, so I guess just quick go ahead on the schedule next week.
Some housekeeping.
Some housekeeping. Next Thursday is our last show, Nintendo Shack of the year of 2021. I don't know what you want to do with that show. I don't know if you want to make it to like a recap of Nintendo this year or what our thoughts on for the future. I think that would be pretty cool to do, because I don't think there's going to be much Nintendo news between now and next week.
Probably not.
So we'll have that. And then we are recording our Game of the Year show with the PSVG show people with Donnie and all of them next weekend on Sunday. And I remember him saying on the PSVG show, I think it's going to be released like December 26th or 31st. I forgot.
Right. Like, yeah. Right around, I think after Christmas sometime, one of those days. So we'll give you more information on that. We'll keep you posted. But they will be two separate shows. So our last show next week is just us. And then we'll have a separate show that'll release in those weeks that we have off from the show. We'll give you a schedule of that.
Yes, definitely. Yes. And then we'll be off 2 weeks at least for Christmas and New Year's, and we'll be back in 2022.
2022. You can believe it.
I can't believe it. Like sometimes when I feel like a year 2017 or 2015, I think those years like those are very recent. It's like, no, 2017 is about to be
more than 5 years ago.
Yeah. I can't believe that. Time really does.
Do you know what 2022 is?
What is it?
10 years since we graduated high school.
Oh yeah, our 10-year reunion possibly. I don't know if I'll go to that. Would you go to your high school reunion?
I'm not going. Who do I want to see?
Exactly.
I have one friend from high school and I still see her, and I don't want to see anybody else.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Same deal over here. I don't think I talked to anyone that I went to high school with
Yeah.
anymore. Yeah.
Been there, done that. Moving on.
Exactly. Last thing is the Fantasy Critic League that's going to be happening for 2022. In order to be eligible for that, you got to be a Patreon by January 1st, 2022. I will be do a huge call out into the PSVG Battle Pass channel. Of course, you get all these other perks like extra shows and stuff like that with DLC. So yeah, just keep on the lookout. If you're interested in participating, I'm suspecting we're doing the same price buy-in, $20 for the Fantasy Critic League. So if you're interested, if you want to get your butt kicked by me, just let me know, because I'm gonna
Hey,
be a
next year
third-time
is
champion
my
next
year.
year.
I'm gonna learn from my mistakes.
Yeah. There's actually, did you see the recent showings of that of this year's Fantasy Critic
No,
League?
I didn't. I haven't looked at it yet.
Oh, so Yarden showed me this, and he told me
Uh-oh.
not to tell you, but I'm
What?
gonna tell you
Jordan!
anyways. So Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker has got reviews out, and Justy P has this one. He has not touched his Critic
Yeah, I
League.
wanted him to drop it so that I could take it. I'm looking
Yeah,
right now.
that game got a pretty high reviews.
God
Initially it
damn
was
it.
like
Though I don't think that would have been enough to, if I had that instead of the other thing I took, I don't think that would have been enough for me to pass you, because you
right.
have 142 points. That GTA
Yeah.
really screwed me over.
Yeah, that GTA didn't do well on you, but yeah, it would have at least. I don't know. I saw Justy P maybe sneaking into third place
Oh,
without doing
stop.
anything that year.
He didn't
It's
even
kind of
fill
insane.
out his whole bracket. He still has all these games that aren't. He has like 4 games that released.
He didn't. He literally, when we were you remember when we were start drafting for this one, he didn't even attend, and we were like, you know what, we're gonna
He
give you
got
the
what was
next.
left over.
Exactly, we're giving you the next anticipated game. Here you go. And he got Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker, of
Oh
course.
my gosh.
That's a crazy rating right now.
So
I'm sure
that
that's
just goes
plus
to
a lot
show
of
listeners,
points.
anything can happen. You don't even have to show up and you could end up doing well.
Yeah, apparently. So, but I think you're gonna win this. I think the Pocket Dungeon is gonna be it's gonna be at least okay. I don't think it's gonna be a bad game.
I just need a couple points to secure third.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and it'll get your money back so you can pay for
There
next
you
year.
go.
We'll see how it goes.
All right.
So
Yes,
that's
listeners,
it.
please join us for that. It'll be a good time. All right, let's get into this week in Nintendo. Let's do a Game Awards recap, which is not as much Nintendo as we expected.
Not really. Yeah.
I don't know. Usually they have one big thing
For Nintendo, yes.
for Nintendo. Last year was Sephiroth. What was the year before that?
Breath of the Wild, right?
Breath of the Wild
Trailer?
feels
The sequel, right?
No, that
Oh,
wasn't at the
was
Game
that
Awards,
not
was
the
it?
Game Awards?
Maybe it was.
I'm sorry.
I don't know. I'm mixing it all up. But normally they do. Normally they have
Yes.
something that they bring. There are games that they showed off that are coming to the Switch, but if you were like us and expecting something big first party, it was not here. I'm gonna list off what I think were the notable titles that they showed off that are coming to the Switch, confirmed. If you want to talk about any of these, stop me. Okay?
Yep, sounds good.
All right, and this is not in any particular order, just the order that I remember them. Sonic Frontiers.
That's the Breath of the Wild one, right?
Yeah, where people were like, this has Breath of the Wild vibes because it had Sonic standing there with a big expanse type of view around it.
I'm kind of interested. We'll see how this.
I'm seeing some buzz about this.
Looks.
Yeah, I think people are hoping that Sonic will be good. For a change.
We'll see how it goes.
we finally got a look and release for Cuphead, the Delicious Last Course DLC. This
Yeah,
I thought was a really cool reveal because they showed it by having that live band and like the 1920s style
it's so
flappers
cool.
singing and
Yeah.
dancing. And, you know, as soon as they did that, I'm like, oh my God, the Delicious Last Course. Like, I thought that was a pretty cool reveal. And it is long overdue since we heard anything about
Yep.
this. So to know that this is going to be a release next year, confirmed for sure. Did they say June? I think it was.
It was June 30th or something along the lines of that. It's a whole DLC island. I loved the
It looks like
presentation.
they packed
Yeah.
a ton of content into this DLC,
It
so
looks like a
the
second
wait will be
game, to
worth
be
it.
honest with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
So
didn't see
it'll
a
be great.
price for it, but I feel like
Mhm.
anything that would be considered full price would be fair for what it looks like what you're getting here.
At this point, yeah, because it's the original game was $25. I would have to say. So another $25. I mean,
Worth
that
it.
could be possible. Yeah, and they've
I'm
been
like
working on this
honestly
for
a
a long
little bit
time.
surprised that they didn't just turn this into a sequel.
Me too.
Because
Yeah.
when they went this long, it got delayed. Then I think they said COVID, here's another delay. I
Mhm.
honestly thought that it was going to turn into, well, you know what? We ended up putting so much in, we're deciding to make Cuphead 2. So I don't
Yeah.
know, but it seems like they're making enough content for it anyway.
Well, yeah, maybe it's the marketing deal. It's like, yeah, we already got the name down, and like, it really doesn't matter if it's a second game or a DLC. It would be cool if this would be standalone too. It doesn't have to be like, hey, you need to have Cuphead in order to have the delicious last course.
Mhm.
It's more like it could be standalone, or you can just let's bundle them in together, and then like probably
Right.
like late next year, it would act as like this bundled big, really awesome game.
Did you
I
play
heard
Cuphead?
no, it looks hard.
It's
I'm
hard.
not into
It's
hard.
hard.
I'm not into hard platformers. I'm not a hard
Yeah, me
platformer
neither.
guy. So
I love everything about Cuphead. The art, I
yeah,
love. The music, I listen to all the time. I love everything about Cuphead and what it stands for and what it is. I just cannot
yeah.
play that game for the life of me. I'm not good
I
enough.
would really have to be patient with it. It's like I mean, like I could be patient with an RPG because I know I have progress. I cannot be patient with a platformer like that because it's just so many repeats and it's
It's a
just so
lot like
difficult.
Metroid Dread where you have
Yeah,
to you're meant to die several times before you get it right, and you do better and you do better, but it's harder than Metroid Dread.
yeah, it's much harder than Metroid Dread. So
Yes. But
it
yes,
looks
get
so good
excited
though.
about that. It does look really
Yeah,
good, and honestly, I might buy it just to support it and, like, not play it
yeah.
and just pretend that I played it. Just to
I
have it
mean,
on
I
my
would
save
eventually
screen.
like to get on sale. I mean, I do have the original one on Steam. So it's in a backlog somewhere, but that's not going to be at the top of my list anytime soon. I just like to have that game though because it's
Yeah,
just so cool to
it's
see.
so good, yeah.
Um, mhm.
Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, the Persona announcement we've all been waiting for.
Oh
How'd
my
you like that one,
goodness.
Garrett?
I I couldn't believe it.
Really?
To be quite honest with you. I mean, so there has been rumors about this particular game being re-released um for like the newer consoles or current consoles or whatever. So for people who don't know, Persona 4 Arena is the Arc System Work developed game that's for the Persona 4 universe. Arc System Works, they do Guilty Gear, and it's a great fighting game. Of course, Ryan Turver said it's a great fighting game. I agree. I'm sure it's a very solid 2D fighting game, akin to that. Very great art style. I love the art style of that game, but I am not into that genre whatsoever. Like I love Super Smash Brothers, but I don't know why. I cannot get into stuff like Street Fighter or like Tekken or I know people love these games. And I'm sure you do. I can't wrap my brain around like doing many different types of combinations on my controller to do this fancy attack on screen in this 2D format. It's never
Elaine's
been
really
my
good at
thing.
that. She's
Oh,
really good at those
goodness.
games.
So I'm excited for the people who are excited for this game. But it, they put this out on Switch and not other Persona games. This is probably the last Persona game I would ever want on the Switch. It is the last one on the Switch. So I'm not excited to see. And of course that's not going to be the end of all the Persona 25th anniversary announcements going on right now. So um I I'm keeping my expectations low. I'm not expecting Persona 4 Golden. I'm not expecting Persona remakes on the Switch at this point because it just seems like Atlas wants to refresh certain particular games for these consoles, and it doesn't really make any business sense to me. But have at it, Atlas. Do what you need to do. Just don't let this game be a reference for sales for Persona in general on Switch, because it's not.
Yeah, I
It
feel like
definitely
they
isn't.
have to. I would hope they would know that. Like,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
what. Yeah,
You would think so, but they're putting Persona games that are not Persona games on Switch, like Strikers and now Ultimate Arena Ultimax,
hmm
and they're gonna. And they said before, it's like, hey, if you want Persona on Switch, you got to prove it to us that you want Persona on Switch.
yeah.
And we're
I
like,
hate
these
when
are
they
not the
do
games that are
that
gonna do
because
it.
those,
Yeah.
they're spin-offs. Like, they're not what people are
hmm
asking for. It's like
hmm
they're kind of putting the Switch as, this is where our side games go, not our main
Yeah.
games.
I with 4 Golden being on Steam last year, I find it very hard to believe they run out of announcements and they don't put that game on Switch too. It's I think they're really holding that card close. I think they're holding a lot of those strong cards close. They know people want it. And again, Ryan said there's 5 more announcements left for the Persona kind of 25th anniversary
Is that
stuff.
what they
So
said? 5?
yeah, so they had I forgot how many announcements that they mentioned, but now we're down to 5 more type of announcements. But these can be anything from like vinyl records, which they announced today with all the different
So they're not
games.
all games. They're
Right.
announcements.
It's their announcements. So it can be it's merchandise. It's other things, and people
Yeah.
are suspecting Persona 6 will be teased by the last announcement, but I don't know. I could totally see Atlas not putting Persona like the real Persona games on Switch anymore at this point.
That's a
So
shame.
yeah. Well, good for people playing it. Arena Ultimax, great fighting game if you're into that. So you got that on Switch.
We got a pretty cool trailer for Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. Were you excited about that one?
Not necessarily. Monster Hunter
Really?
Rise. I mean, I played like 20 hours of it earlier
Okay.
this year, and I am not a huge fan. Like I got into it and it's like I get it. And once I got the rhythm, I'm like, I don't feel like I need to play this anymore because all I'm gonna do is go back into it and just raise my weapons and armor, and like I got diminishing returns off of that. I understand fans that are really into the grind
Mhm.
and really into the rhythm of it, playing hundreds of hours. I get it. But it's just like for me, it's like, I'm good. I can go on to the next game. Now I understand and gone through that rhythm. I think I
Okay.
would like to test out other weapons and stuff like that, but yeah, I didn't get into the expansion of Monster Hunter World. I doubt I'll get into Sunbreak,
That's fair.
Monster Hunter Rise. So yeah.
I still love the concept of Monster Hunter and think it looks awesome, but
hmm
not for me.
No, it's definitely not for you.
I just
Like
love
I
how
know
I
that.
love looking at the dragons. They're so cool.
Yeah.
Um, then we have a Playtale Requiem. The cloud version is coming to Switch. What'd you think
hmm
about that? Did you play the first one?
I played a good chunk of the
Okay.
first one on Game Pass. It's very good. I really enjoyed of what I played. I'm not
That's a
over the
game that I hope
hills.
to get to
Yeah.
eventually someday. Mhm.
Yeah. It's really good. I like how it's a smaller studio, but they know how to direct a narrative. It's a high quality graphic intensive game too. And
Yeah.
it's about a brother and a sister. And it's like, it might not be the best game in the world, but it's a really solid game from where it comes from. So
Mhm.
yeah, very excited for
Yes.
this one.
Yeah, and I know people, you know, aren't always happy about the cloud version aspect of it, but I think
Hmm.
for a game like that, if it was between that and not coming to the Switch, I'm glad that it's an option.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, totally.
I don't think we can complain too much. That is really the headlines for the games that are coming to the Switch.
Right.
What do you think of that overall?
You know, there's been a lot of commentary going in to the Game Awards. There's a lot of commentary and feedback coming out of the Game Awards. I what I understand from last year, I've learned my lessons from last year too. There is a lot of exciting announcements that can come out of the Game Awards, but I don't want to say, hey, it's kind of required for the Game Awards to be like this pedestal of exciting announcements. We know what it is. We know what Jeff Keighley is doing to this
Yeah.
show. And a big portion of it is a marketing campaign. And that's fine. You got to keep the lights on. You got to keep it funding. And it's cool to have some sort of celebration of games this year,
Mhm.
whether it's a marketing ploy or not. So, yeah, it's a little lackluster in the game announcement side. It would have been cool to see one big Nintendo announcement, but not having it, it's like, well, that's fine. Well, we're
Yeah.
gonna probably have a direct that's gonna compile all that together or whatever. But what do you think?
Somebody told me today, and I think it's true, even though I hate that it's true, is that the Game Awards isn't we're not really the main target audience for the Game Awards in terms of, like, announcements and things like that.
Mm,
Like, as core Nintendo fans, I feel like it's
okay.
becoming such a more mainstream thing that it's really has a stronger focus on esports nowadays. You know,
Hmm.
they have all these awards for esports. I feel like a lot of those games are the types of ones that are showcased a little bit heavier. And then you'll get like more of the core gamer announcements, like the Elden Ring we had. You know, you'll have those, but I feel like for the most part, like I really should have kept my expectations in line, expecting Chrono Cross, because that's not a mainstream type of announcement that was
Yeah.
gonna ever be at the Game Awards. And I
Hmm.
think I wanted it to be. I want it to be like a second E3, you know, an E3 at
Right.
one part of the year and then an E3 at the other part of the year, and it's really not that. And
Hmm.
I think that's okay that it's not for people like me, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel like I need to change my perspective on that going into
Yeah.
next year. Um, because you're right, Nintendo is at the end of the day much better off showcasing Breath of the Wild 2 at their January direct that I'm sure everybody's going to be expecting and hyping
Right.
up. I feel like it's for those people. It's going to do better there. Yes, they could have had some kind of announcement, but they don't need that, and the Game Awards doesn't
Hmm.
need them.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so yes, I would have liked something more from Nintendo here. Yes, I would have liked
Hmm.
my Chrono Cross, but I just need to come to terms with that. But
There were some pretty cool games that I'm very excited about that was
mhm,
outside of Nintendo. More console heavy, more PC focus heavy. So yeah, I think it's leaning more towards that this year. And who knows, maybe next year Game Awards it could be way more Nintendo heavy. I feel like, but that's I feel like the game announcements. I don't know how important that is. It's more like Jeff like calling out to the developers, hey, do you want to present something to this presentation? And
mhm,
it's just a message out there, and he's just getting what he can get. And I think he got some good grabs off of here, but I agree with you. For a Nintendo fan, he did not get he didn't even get even like a great third party, really, too. In this case, and it's just a luck of the draw, I think, every year as well with Nintendo fans.
A lot of people in chat are mentioning how it felt too long, and I 100%
Yeah.
agree with that. And I get that they have so many ads and, it is a marketing thing to get us to sit there and watch all of these things. There's no reason for it to be 3.5 hours long. They have the pre-show before the show, which is really actually just the beginning of the show where they get, all
Mhm.
those smaller things out of the way. I think they can cut at least an hour off of this and have it be 2 hours, 2.5 if you really want it to be.
Yeah, I agree
Really
with
cut
you.
down on that BS. Like,
There was a lot of BS in there. There's a lot of breaks in there, and just like, are you serious? Well, I understand there's transitions to like, different people that's gonna announce the games and like the different performers that are gonna be on the show. Yeah, I guess Jeff needs to really think about the length of this show and how can he balance it, but in a much tighter way. I agree with you. There's a lot of fluff in there, but I'm sure he's just accommodating for what's transitioning between announcement and from performance to performance. I know he loves those musical performances in that show. I do too sometimes.
mhm.
Yeah, 3.5 hours is pretty long for an average viewer and even for the audience in that.
Yeah, I could have done without
Force.
Sting, I could have done without Imagine
Yeah,
Dragons, like,
me too.
why is that there? Those were my bathroom breaks because the thing was so long, I couldn't go that whole time without going to the bathroom, like, oh my gosh, it's
Right,
longer than a feature-length movie.
right. He had Kojima on there just to present Guillermo del Toro's movie. And I'm like, what is this show in general? And so me and a lot of people in the PSVG, like kind of general chat, we were just having fun. We were just chatting about the show and just making
Yeah.
jokes, and we had a good time just having it in the background and then just talking about it on Discord every now and then. But we know that it wasn't like this great like it's not E3. It's definitely not like I don't think it's even like a mini E3
No,
per
and
se.
I desperately wanted it to be, but it
Hmm.
just isn't.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's
So
okay, that's okay.
yeah, there you
We have
go.
a lot of questions that were written into us about the Game Awards, and I think they're good ones.
Hmm.
Dan wants to know what game shown at the Game Awards that you had no prior knowledge of caught your eye the most?
Okay.
Was there any game like that for you that you had
I
no
think the
previous
one,
knowledge of?
yeah, I think the one exciting announcement for me was Star Wars Eclipse. Um, it's cool to see a Quantic Dream developed game for the Star Wars universe. I think it's going to work out very well for them. I understand there's a little bit of pushback with that studio with because of the practices that has been going on or kind of the buzz around that studio. But I'm super excited to see what they can come up with in the Star Wars universe and making those decisions in web trees and stuff like that. Yeah, that's the one that caught my eye.
One that I thought looked really cool. I don't know if this was a brand new reveal or if this is just a new trailer for it, but I like games that just don't look like the other ones because I feel like
Hmm.
nowadays there's so many like carbon copy type games where it's like, oh, another shooter, oh, another, open world action game, and like they all just
Hmm.
look the same. Do you remember them showing Steel Rising? It was like a French Revolution-esque type, marionette, the in kind of like this apocalyptic French Revolution world, and there's
Oh wow.
robots, and um it didn't look like any of the other games, and I don't know that I
Yeah.
would ever play this game, but it definitely caught my eye, and I had to go back to look for the title of it because I didn't even remember. But um, just putting robots in 18th century France, it looked
Hmm.
really cool and different, and I like when developers take risks like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was it near the beginning of the show because I must have
It
missed
might have
it.
been in the pre-show.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I definitely didn't watch the pre-show, so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I'll take a look back. Some games that do that. They love to put in that steampunk into like
yeah,
colonial times or 1800s, and
yeah.
it works out
Hmm.
pretty well. So
Steven wants to know, how excited were you to see Reggie at the Game Awards? I was writing an article when he appeared, so I heard a little bit of what he was saying, but I completely missed that part, which kind of stinks because I was looking forward to that. But maybe I'll go back and
oh
watch
yeah,
it.
I think it was fine. It's cool to see Reggie still being intact with the gaming business, but I'm sure he has the best position in the world. He doesn't have to do anything. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll pop in my head into this show and just be Reggie,
I'm
and
glad that
he
he's
does a
still
good job with that.
involved. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So good for him.
Yeah, Steven also wants to know he has a couple other questions. What's one game that was announced at the Game Awards that you wish was coming to the Switch? One that could actually run on the Switch, he specifies.
I honestly, Steven, I would have to go back through that list. I haven't really. I mean, like I kind of looked at some games here and there, but I don't know. What about you, Rebecca? Is there any games that pop out to you that
That
you
could
wish
run on
would
the
come?
Switch? I don't know.
That yeah,
I don't know if there were very many Rebecca games at the Game Awards this year.
yeah, yeah.
Which
I
maybe
agree.
that's a good thing that we can't come up with an answer for that. We're not disappointed that, oh man, I really love that, but it's not coming to the Switch and I have to play it somewhere else. I don't know.
Right.
But
Yeah, there wasn't a game. It's like, oh my gosh, why is this not on Switch? And
mhm.
yeah, I
I
mean
think developers are doing a
that's
better
fine.
job of the games that can run on the Switch, including them as well, and that wasn't
Yeah,
always true. And I'm glad that we can
yeah,
say that now.
yeah. Totally agree.
And then he also wants to know, what's one nominee from the Game Awards that you wish was on
Mm,
Switch? So a game from this year that didn't come out on the Switch that was one of the nominees that you wish
hmm
maybe was.
I think I
Ratchet and
wish
Clank
Ratchet and Clank. Yeah, that
would
would
be
have
a
been a
good
great
one.
one.
It Takes Two isn't on the Switch, right?
It's not on the Switch, and I think that
That
would
would
be a
be a good
great
one.
Switch game.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it would too. That would probably be my answer.
hmm
Because that could run on the Switch, right? I don't know if maybe
I mean, you could
Ratchet and
probably
Clank?
downscale it and like cut the frames, but I'm sure it can run if you give it enough elbow grease.
Yeah.
I'm sure it can run on the Switch. But
Yes. So that would probably be my answer. Elias Thompson wants to know, at what decibel level did you scream or shout when Metroid won an award? Oh, we didn't even talk about I totally skipped over our Nintendo awards.
totally missed it.
That I wanted there were two that I wanted to mention if you wanted to talk
Yeah.
about more, Garrett. Metroid Dread did win Best Action Adventure Game. Yay, good job, Metroid
Yay.
Dread. Yay. I'm happy about that. I did not scream, but I screamed in my head because I was very excited about that.
Yeah, yeah. It's good to see that a Metroid Dread. Of course, we've given it a very high praise and pushed it and supported it throughout the Game Awards. I'm glad it got at least one out of the category. And it's a Nintendo game now that's not winning Family Game, but it's winning like this action adventure. It's like that's kind of cool
It
to see.
is, yeah, and I was pulling for it to win Game of the Year. I knew it wasn't gonna win Game of the
hmm
Year, but that being said, I'm very glad that it won Action Adventure because I think it does deserve that. I really do.
hmm
Another notable non-Nintendo winning award that I wanted to bring up because we've talked about how Best Family Game is usually like the give Nintendo an award category because most of the nominees for it are Nintendo games and they don't even have to be family games for Nintendo to get nominated for this. I think Pokemon Snap was nominated for this and like that doesn't
Yeah.
have multiplayer. Like what about that as a family game? It's family friendly. But Nintendo was nominated for all but one of the games in this category, and it lost.
Yeah.
And it didn't just lose, but It Takes Two won that award. Now, I
I
don't
couldn't
know if you
believe it.
guys are how familiar you are with It Takes Two. Personally, I don't know that I would describe this as a family game. I really want to know like what their criteria is for a family game because
hmm
this game's about divorce and I know that like the premise of the game is reconnecting and kind of overcoming those challenges and those kind of themes. But a family game?
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this. It's the most ironic placement I've ever seen in a category ever. Because It Takes Two. It's a great game. It's not a family game. By definition, in my head, in my opinion, a family game is like something that a family can get together and have fun, and
Which
have a
it
good
should have gone
time.
to Mario Party.
It really should have.
That's the only game that was nominated this year that fits, in my opinion, the criteria for best family game.
Right. It Takes Two is not a family game. Now, if they're saying, hey, the best family game is best, whatever, co-op or couch multiplayer,
That would be
whatever.
way different. Then
Yeah, it'd be
yes,
way
then It
different.
Takes Two deserves to win that award.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think
That
there's
was
a lot
very
of
weird.
categories that are not very clearly defined. I think we talked about this
Mhm.
last week. Like, I wish they explained more like what that means, because if it does mean co-op, fine.
Mhm.
But that's not
Yeah,
what I
and
think of when you say family game.
exactly. And then there's like wasn't there like another category of best action game or best adventure game? Because Metroid Dread won best action adventure. There's two genres kind of
Yeah,
mashed together. And then I think there's best action game as well.
I think
So
so.
it's the
So
weirdest
you'll
thing.
separate those categories, and then you'll put together like racing and simulation that like aren't
I
even.
couldn't believe that. Yeah. When I saw Microsoft Flight Simulator in Age of Empires 4, and I'm like, you couldn't have
How
picked
do you pit them
more
against each
different
other?
games.
Yeah.
You couldn't have picked more different games in a category together. So I'm sure Jeff is taking in that feedback and probably going to restructure it for
I
next year.
think people in the Twitter
Yeah.
spaces today were pointing that out and saying,
Hmm.
something this about the categories, something that about the
Hmm.
categories, and giving him some feedback on that. And I think he's open to shifting those around. And I think part of why they do it is there's too many games for one category, so they need to split it up, or there's not enough games for one category, so they put them together. But I think there's some kind of middle ground to be found that they just haven't perfected yet.
Hmm. Yeah, totally.
Nick wants to know, do you think this award, meaning Metroid Dread winning action adventure game, or its nomination for Game of the Year, will have any impact on either the popularity of or the future of the Metroid series? Good question, Nick.
That is a good question.
What do you think?
Um,
Does it matter?
I honestly think it doesn't matter that much, to be honest with you. I feel like either nomination or just the Game Awards in general, I think it's just a sign of the times around it. It's very local to what's around it too. And so when I see Metroid Dread getting a nomination, it's like, oh, that's cool, that's really cool. But like a month later, like even January, February, I'm like, oh right, Metroid Dread was in the Game Awards, and I don't. And it's good to slap that award on a cover art or something along the lines of that, or an advertisement. But this is not bringing the game to a wide audience per se. It's not convincing people, oh, Metroid is actually good. It's more like, hey, it's just an accolade that they
Mhm.
can punch on their cover art. But that's what I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And I feel like there are so many of these types of award shows. Like the Game Awards is not the only, one and done. This is the game of the year. This is the best action adventure game. There's a lot of other platforms that do this too. So if it didn't win Game of the Award here, it could win a game of the year somewhere else, and they
Yeah.
could use that on the cover art, like you were saying.
Hmm.
I think it does, there's millions of people that watch this. It does expose the title to more people, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to buy it.
Hmm.
Especially because I feel like Metro Dread didn't get a lot of airtime last night when they
Yeah.
were kind of showing reels of all the nominees and things like that. Like, not a lot of time was spent on it. So
Hmm.
I think that's hopeful thinking that it will impact the popularity of the series or even the
Hmm.
future of it. I'm hoping that Nintendo sees, oh yes, it's nominated for all these awards. Let's keep it going. But I think sales speak way, way bigger than that.
Yeah.
So I do think Metroid has a future. I don't think the Game Awards necessarily has anything to do with it besides just recognition.
Yep. Yeah, totally agree.
Good question. Edgardo wants to know, what did you like most about the awards? Can the show be improved? He says, so happy to see the love Metroids getting through sales, award nominations, fan art, trending topics, etc. Totally deserved. I do agree with that.
Well, I think we've gone through it for the most part. But what do I like most about the awards? It's really just like, it's in a sense, it's like, it's kind of cool having a good time with other people and watching it and
Bingo.
making fun of it, more or less.
Bingo.
And
Yeah.
and there's some hidden gems here and there in the show, which is nice. But for the most part, it was just like, you make the best out of it. You kind of make fun of it, and then you kind of ignore all the fluff around it. It is actually an enjoyable experience on that end. And of
Yes.
course, how the show can be improved, make it shorter, right? Cut out some fluff in there. So
There are 3 reasons to enjoy the Game Awards. Bonding with the community, like you said, the memes, all the memes
the
that come out
memes.
of it, and the orchestra that plays the medley of the Game of the Year nominations at the end is the
Oh,
best. I love that part of it. I last year when they transitioned into the Animal Crossing New Horizons theme from the Last of Us theme, I started crying. No
oh,
joke. I
really?
started crying. Yeah. And then the Metroid one this year, it was so good. So that's my
Yeah.
favorite part. And yes, I agree with you. The show can be improved drastically by cutting an hour off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, our last question about the Game Awards. Carlos wants to know, with no big announcement or no announcements at all in the Game Awards from Nintendo, do you think we know everything that's coming next year, or has Nintendo decided to keep those secrets for future directs?
Do we think we know everything? No, we definitely don't.
We
I
know a lot,
I don't
but they
want to.
always have a few tricks up their sleeves.
Right. I think next week we're gonna go through all the Nintendo announcements and what we're thinking, what's gonna happen in the coming months. So we'll definitely discuss more about that. But short answer, we definitely haven't. Of course, there's always those shorter games, right, that pop up and announce like, hey, this is gonna be released next month or 2 months ahead. So yeah,
I do think we'll get that
that's it.
January, late January, early February direct.
Yeah.
I think we need to, if Breath of the Wild is still releasing next year, to get that
Hmm.
marketing cycle going. We need some information about Splatoon. Yeah, I don't think we know everything, but I think they need to start telling us, and we'll get a direct.
Ramping it up. It's funny when I saw the ad on the Game Awards about the Nintendo games. One of them is, "Hey, look at all the games coming out in 2022," and it literally it's just one, of course, from the trailer is like sequel to the Breath of the Wild, and I'm like, you're still putting those words
Teasing
together
us
in
with
a
that. I
corner
know.
of a
They're gonna
photo. Oh
pull
my god.
Octopath Traveler Project Triangle and just call it that. Like,
Legend of Zelda, a sequel to the Breath of the
oh,
Wild.
jeez. Can you imagine?
I could possibly see that.
That would be a
Uh,
very Nintendo thing to do with their naming conventions.
yeah, yeah.
The Legend of
Breath of the
Zelda,
Wild
Breath of the
2.
Wild, you. Not two. You.
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 Actually, you.
Oh, jeez. Anything else that you want to say about the Game Awards to recap that before we move on?
I'm tired of talking about it.
I
That's my
honestly
recap.
feel like, yeah, by the time we get to it and it happens, I'm done with it.
um, I think we've learned a valuable lesson as we've done, like probably last year too, a little bit. Keep your expectations a little lower than, especially for a Nintendo fan. We've seen absolutely no Nintendo first party announcements and not really a big third party
We should have known when
announcement.
Nintendo didn't like retweet any of like the Game Awards official account
Mhm.
stuff or anything like that. Usually they retweet it if they're going to be there.
Yeah, Yeah,
They
that's true.
didn't. But
But be excited for January or February for a Nintendo Direct,
hey,
possibly.
yeah, it gives us more to look
Yeah.
forward to sooner rather than later, I think.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving away from the Game Awards, there was some other Nintendo news this week that we'd like to talk about. We have some more information about Pokemon Legends Arceus. Another Hisuian form was revealed, specifically Hisuian Voltorb. We talked about how they've been doing pretty creative reveals for the Pokemon in this new game, and this one was no different. This one
Okay.
was revealed over a series of Twitter posts featuring. Do you remember Ball Guy? I don't. Did you finish
I
Sword and
know
Shield?
Ball Guy.
Ball Guy from Sword and
I know Ball
Shield.
Guy.
He was that bizarre like mascot with a big Pokeball head, and it was a series of very funny posts about he dropped
Yeah.
these balls everywhere. It was a little bit of an innuendo, I think. But then it was like, go and click all the balls and see what you can find. Go pick them up. People guessed pretty quickly that it was a reveal for Hisuian Voltorb. It ended
Cool.
up being a dual type electric grass Pokemon, which besides that one Rotom form, this is the only electric grass Pokemon.
That's awesome.
It looks pretty similar to regular Voltorb, but it has more of a wooden-like material. It's supposed to be based off of the Pokeballs that you craft in this region. So it looks pretty cool, like an ancient handcrafted Pokeball.
Nice.
And then they released this really cute animated short to show him off. Very, very adorable. Interestingly, they didn't show us any Hisuian Electrode, so I assume that's also going to have a Hisuian form, but they didn't
Mhm.
show it, so we still have more to see there.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how much they're gonna do this, because they have this, and they also have Hisuian Scyther, right?
They have
Um,
Scyther, they have Zoroark,
okay, yeah, Zoroark. So
Braviary was one of the first ones.
okay, I didn't realize
There
these other Pokemon. I just remember
There's
Scyther
a
and now
leak
Voltorb.
that's floating around out
Growlithe as
there
well.
that a lot
Yeah.
of people dismissed as being fake, but part
Mm.
of what's on that leak was Hisuian Zoroark, Growlithe, and Voltorb. So it's looking like that leak might be true. That
Oh, okay.
if you want to Google and look out there and see what other Hisuian forms are leaked to be coming out, it's out there. I don't remember
Cool.
specifically what it is, but I feel like Pokemon always tends to leak. That is like the most leaked game ahead of
Yeah. Oh,
time.
yeah. Like just a few Pokemon here and there, in
Mhm.
their stats, and like, yeah, in their designs, like at least like a year
Yeah, it's
before or
not
something like
really
that.
well kept secret historically.
Hmm.
But yes, get excited.
Cool. I'm interested to see how much more they're gonna do this. They're definitely not putting new Pokemon in this. They're just gonna probably
New
mixing all
Hisuian
old
forms.
Pokemon.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then doing these Hisuian forms,
I think
which
so.
is it's the way to go. I think we have enough Pokemon. Um,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think 1,000 is enough.
Something that I think would have been kind of cool for this one, because you know how it's supposed to be ancient Sinnoh, like Sinnoh
Yep.
thousands of years before. You know how they have in Diamond and Pearl the fossil Pokemon? If
Mhm.
they would make those forms of those Pokemon of like what they looked like in their present day. So like I think is
Mm.
Shieldon one of them? I forget the fossil Pokemon for that generation. Shieldon or whoever
Oh,
it is.
yeah.
Make
I
it like
forgot.
instead of being like a rock Pokemon the way that we know it, have it be, okay, well, when this Pokemon was not extinct, it was like a
Mhm.
water type, or it was, something before it became extinct. Am
Oh,
I
that'd be
making any
really cool.
sense?
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah, the fossil
Okay.
Pokemon, and having it like
Yeah.
before it fossilized, what did it look like? Or
I
did it
feel
have
oh,
like a
yeah.
pre-evolution of some kind?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Before it became a fossil. Because I
Yeah.
don't know, I think playing up on that ancient part would be cool, but I don't know. Maybe they'll
Mhm.
do that. We'll see. We also had an announcement this morning that Banjo Kazooie is finally coming to the Switch via Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack in January. So it seems like this service is adding a Nintendo 64 game roughly once a month. Paper
Yes.
Mario was released last night. I'm gonna probably check that out this weekend. I have never played Paper Mario. I want to check it out and see.
Oh, cool.
Um, Again, no Genesis game announcement. Doesn't seem like those are being added roughly once a month. They have 5 more titles planned for release for the N64 based on what they showed us in that initial like
Hmm.
launch trailer. And those are F-Zero X, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, Mario Golf, Pokemon Snap, and Majora's Mask. If they stick with one a month, that would take
Hmm.
us to June E3-ish time. And then it's kind of question mark after that.
Yeah. Cool. I
Kev,
mean,
yeah, go ahead
we're.
before we.
I know a lot of people were wanting more than this, but I'm totally not surprised seeing one N64 game a month in this expansion pack. Oh boy. It's cool. I have not played Banjo-Kazooie. It's also on Rare Replay if you want to play through that as well. And Rare Replay, that one's not on the Switch, right? I think
No.
people were okay. Yeah, people were guessing that would be on, but it's not. So yeah, it's gonna be cool to. I might visit that game on Switch Online. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
I definitely want to check out Banjo-Kazooie when it comes out next month. I've never played it, and a lot of people have suggested it to me, so
Mm-hmm.
that is one that I will definitely give a go when it comes.
Cool.
Now, Kevin wanted to know, do you think we're getting any more NES or SNES games? He says, Earthbound, please, for Switch Online, or has that boat sailed?
At this point, I'm not holding my breath to see any more SNES or NES games. It looks like their tempo now is N64 games and once a month N64 games, and that is it.
Yeah. I feel like I remember them saying we still plan to add more, but um you're right. I feel like if they're still doing it, it is definitely not at the pace that they were going to before, especially if they're
Yeah.
doing one N64 game a month. Um yeah, I mean, maybe I'm not saying that there won't ever be more, but the boat has pretty much sailed for Earthbound.
Yeah, I mean, like they've been like shelving out like these lower tier games that I haven't even heard of in NES and SNES platforms. So I just can't imagine having, oh, here's our one very important gem or game that we kind of missed, in the
Yeah,
first year of our Switch Online. Here you
exactly.
go. So yeah.
Yeah, which is a shame. I agree. Kevin
Hmm.
also wanted to know, we got the Banjo release window announcement on the same day as the Paper Mario release. Do you think we'll see the next game when Banjo comes out?
I could see that. Yeah, it's something like, hey, this is what you're gonna look forward to in about a month after you're
Mhm.
done with this N64 game. Here you go. That's a good strategy to go by. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a different change of pace from what their um, strategy was for the NES
Hmm.
games, where it was okay, like every who knows when we're going to tell you 3 or 4 games that are coming out, and then it is like 2 or 3 days away. So it
Hmm.
was like we got them sooner, but we would have to wait longer to know what we were getting. Versus
Hmm.
this, you're right, where we kind of have that to look forward to, and it seems like hopefully it's going to be a little bit more consistent, and I don't mind that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it would be cool. I think probably the next one should be Majora's Mask. Um,
that would
that
be
would be my
cool.
pick anyway. Yeah. Do you want to take this next one, Garrett?
Yeah, sure. So I read up on this this past week. Nintendo loses court case over eShop pre-order restrictions, and this actually happened in Europe, where a German court has overturned a previous judgment made in Nintendo's favor and rules instead on the side of the Federation of German Consumer Organizations, or their abbreviation is VZBV, whatever that abbreviation is. In that court, whatever dispute, they successfully argued that Nintendo's current policy is only letting consumers cancel pre-orders up to 7 days before is not fair. Essentially saying, hey, why can we only cancel only a week out before we
I feel like
actually
we talked
refund?
about this when that
We
happened,
did.
right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, we talked about when that actually made the decision last year,
Yes. Yeah.
in
Because I
2020.
remember this story.
Yeah. So, but this there's no implications yet. It's just that hey, they successfully argued. So time will tell if they ever do that, or change the policy of pre-orders and cancellations. But this organization is really pushing for actually more consumer friendly practices, and hopefully, instead of a week before, maybe a week after you pre-order the game, try it out, and then you can get your refund.
Yeah.
So
I think this is good news. Definitely anti-consumer in Nintendo's part a lot of their policies here at the eShop. I think that I know this is over in Germany, but
mhm.
you should be able to. I mean, I don't know. It does seem very, very unfair, I think, if you can't cancel that. And
Yeah.
it's just a fear to
Well,
have with digital games. And I feel like even though digital games have been around for a while, it's still relatively new territory in terms of like your rights with them.
well, it's not necessarily a right, but like we just see better practices in general with Steam.
Yeah, Steam does it way better.
And Xbox does it better. Um, PlayStation, even I forgot. I haven't looked at the details of PlayStation refunds, but it's better than this. Nintendo's by far the worst out of all of them. So
Mhm.
yeah.
All right, and then our last little Nintendo story here is kind of a sad one. I mean, I don't want to end on a sad note, but Masayuki Uemura, the creator of the NES and SNES, passed away this week. He was 78. He was not just the creator of those two consoles, he was also involved with the development of the NES Zapper. He produced several key Nintendo titles like Ice Climber, Clue Clue Land, Soccer, Baseball, Golf. So he has a huge legacy in the world of Nintendo. It's kind of crazy to think what might
Mhm.
have been without him and his influence and what he did, for the company in these two monumental consoles. He retired from Nintendo in 2004 and he became a university professor in Kyoto.
Wow.
So yeah, this news just came out, I think, yesterday. I want to say that he passed away earlier this week. But I wanted to
Mhm.
just throw that in there because I don't think that got a whole lot of attention with everything that's been going on this week. And, I think he should be honored. Those were
Yeah.
two he had such a huge important role um in Nintendo's history, and I think he'll have that legacy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good to honor him in this podcast, and of course with the Nintendo focused. He seemed like a really cool guy. I actually saw a couple of pictures, and it's just a memorable kind of section on Twitter. Look, he seemed like a very creative guy. Of course, creating NES and SNES architecture, super smart dude. Knew what he was doing. So yeah, I mean, I'm. It's sad, but look at that age and look at his accomplishments. He lived a pretty good life. Um,
Hmm.
at least face value. That's what I'm looking at. So it's good to honor him.
Definitely made a history in gaming. I think who's to know where we would be at without those contributions.
Oh yeah,
But yes,
definitely.
moving on from this week in Nintendo, that wraps that up. And we have chat questions directly from you. We have a mix of questions from this week, and then if we have time, we'll get into those questions that we had missed last week. And again, anything that we don't get to this week, we will save to answer. You guys are so awesome. I
Sounds
say
good.
this every week, but you guys are so awesome with the questions that you throw us. I feel like we never have to like beg for questions or dig scrape the barrel getting you guys to ask stuff. So Thank you again for the awesome questions.
Yeah.
Oh man, Kyle the Pug wants to know, when will Jeff Neely make an appearance, since Forrest Minish, Rebecca, and Jeff are now officially BFFs? I don't know that he doesn't hate my guts, so I don't know that he'll ever appear on this podcast. Maybe if it's just Garrett and Elaine.
Oh, wouldn't it be so cool to have Jeff guest
It would be
appeared
pretty cool
in our podcast, and we can talk to not grill him, but like we can ask him a series of questions and just be like, hey, what's the insides of how to make these shows, and how can
He
we
would
make
be
it
honest.
more Nintendo focused or more Nintendo friendly to those fans? What can we do?
I would ask him if he was in charge of a Nintendo Direct, how would he make it?
That would be cool too.
Yeah.
I'm sure he would try to mix different songs and performances and make it an hour long instead of 17 minutes.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Oh man.
Well,
Reckless. Oh, did you have more to say about that?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I'm never gonna live that down. Reckless Ridley says, do you think Nintendo will make a Metroid collection with Metroid 1 through 4, or do anything to ride the success of 2D Metroid, or will they ignore it for another 2 decades?
I mean, they're definitely not making a Metroid collection, because if we had a Metroid collection, we would have a Zelda collection before then. So we need to see a Zelda collection first before any remote possibility of this. And of course the justification is going to be like, well, Metroid, was it Super Metroid is on
Super Metroid's on the online service. So is the original Metroid. So you already have half of them on the Switch. If they ever add a Game Boy Advance service to Switch Online, then you have the whole thing. You have all 4 of them.
Right.
Which I could see that happening someday. I don't know. Maybe that's still just wishful thinking, but I don't think they feel at this point the need to release their entire backlog on the Switch. We talk about how much we wish that there was. We want every Zelda game on the Switch. We want every Metroid game on the Switch. But evidently they don't want that. So I think the best we're getting are those first 2, and someday we'll get another 2D Metroid. Maybe it'll be 2 decades. Hopefully it won't be.
Mm-hmm. Well, I suspect Mercury Steam will continue that ride. They're going to make a Metroid Dread too. There's no doubt about it. It's not going to be called that, but it's going to be a sequel to Metroid Dread.
I hope so.
And their time gap between Metroid Samus Returns, they released that 2017, I think, for the 3DS, and so 2021 now, so that's 4 years. So 2025, new 2D Metroid game, maybe on Switch, maybe on Switch 2. I know they have other projects, so I don't want to say it's going to be exactly 4 years, but that's how I feel like it's going to be from now on with Mercury Steam.
I think that timeline makes sense for sure, especially if Prime 4 is coming. They're not going to want to oversaturate us with Metroid. We have that rumor of Prime that's possibly coming. So I think they're okay to develop that and take their time on it. G-Man wants to know, if you had to choose the best gaming event live stream to get drunk with, which is it? And why?
That's a good question.
Honestly, the best game event drinking game is the Game Awards, because every time they say world premiere, take a shot. You'll get drunk in no time.
Goodness. Oh, do that in the Microsoft show. You're done.
Oh yeah.
You're so done. I would like to get drunk in the Devolver Digital show, because I think I would just laugh way too much. In that, I don't know how long they do a show. I think it's very short, but just I think I would have the time of my life. Yeah, they're hilarious.
That is a very good one. Pete the Smiling Stegosaurus says, what Nintendo franchise that hasn't had a Switch game would you most want to see get a new Switch game? This is an interesting question because we've had this question before, but it's been some time, and I feel like this is a harder question to answer now that we're going on year 5, 6 of the Switch
We're about to go.
versus
Yeah.
3 years ago when it was missing all of these franchises. What are we missing?
XBS said it perfectly. Star Fox.
Star Fox.
Uh,
That was my first thought too, and I am not
Yeah.
even necessarily a Star Fox fan,
Mhm.
but I think that's the franchise that's missing that I want the most at this point.
I need a game from that franchise. I really do. I need a good game from that franchise. I think they have to outsource it at this point. They're not going to pay attention towards it, then they got to send it to someone else that could do it. But I don't know who. So
This year we got a
F-
lot of new entries for franchises that were not previously on Switch. We got a new Mario Golf. We got a new
Mhm.
WarioWare. We got
Mhm.
was Paper Mario this year or last year?
Paper
Last
Mario
year.
was last year. Yes, last year.
Regardless,
I think it's last year.
I think so
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
How bad is that? I
Yeah.
don't remember.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. So
People are saying F-Zero. Kevin
yeah,
says,
F-Zero as well.
yeah.
Although
mean,
F-Zero, like, I
What
mean,
else is
there's some
there?
good alternatives actually to F-Zero. Some
Yeah,
indie games around there. Yeah,
that's true.
they
That's true. That's
they
true.
pull off that pretty well.
We're getting Advance Wars. Somebody pointed out.
We are. Mhm.
Yeah. So I think this question is getting harder and harder to answer. I know there's people who want a new Wario Land. That game hasn't
Okay.
had some love. I don't know what else.
At this point,
I think it's
yeah,
good news that we have trouble answering this. I
yeah.
mean,
I
a
mean,
lot of
there.
what people are saying are like franchises that have not gotten anything in like a long time.
That's true. Yeah, there's a lot of franchises just lost in the ether, and you don't expect it to come back for the Switch unless it's like some sort of port or remake of some kind. So
hmm
yeah.
I don't. This definitely doesn't count, but I want a new original 2D top-down Zelda game. We have Link's Awakening, but I want something new.
I really liked the one Link Between Worlds on 3DS. I
Mm-hmm.
very much that's other than Link to the Past, that's probably my favorite 2D Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see some sort of sequel to that or transition off of that game because Link's
Mm-hmm.
Awakening was not it for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good, of course, and it's a great remake. But I need a new 2D Zelda game as well. I agree with you.
Same. Do you want to hit some of these last week questions, or do you want to save them?
Let's save them
Okay.
for Elaine and
Okay.
get everyone back together next week and just
Yes.
hack it out. Yep.
I know that we're pushing off these questions 2 weeks, but we are saving them. No worries. And then, like we said, just a reminder: next week will be our last show before the new year.
Yeah.
And then we will have that holiday game of the year wrap up episode with everybody that will be releasing between Christmas and New Year. So you will still have content to listen to, and it's always a really fun show. So
Yes.
we're excited to record that and get that to you guys. But yeah, so think of good questions to send us off for next week. We'll do kind of a wrap up of Nintendo's year, and we'll leave you guys with some good stuff. Anything else, Garrett? Anything I'm missing?
I think I'm good. It's been a good
All
show.
right. It was a good show. All right. In that case, we will see you next week, Koopalings.
Bye-bye.